Do you have a paranormal encounter you'd like to share with us? Send us an email with your story for a chance of it being featured on Weird World. In the early hours of a seemingly ordinary morning in 1998, young John Pullman's life took an extraordinary turn. Living on Fort Sam Houston in San Antonio, Texas, 5-year-old John was preparing for his first day of school when he encountered something that would change his life forever. At 5 a.m, John was awakened by a strange, loud humming noise coming from outside his window. Curiosity overcame his initial fear, and he approached the window to investigate. What he saw defied explanation. A massive silver UFO hovering just outside, so large that it completely filled his field of vision. The craft's metallic surface gleamed like polished aluminium, adorned with white lights on its upper surface and light blue lights underneath. Terrified by the sight, John slammed his blinds shut and screamed for his father. When his dad rushed in, John frantically explained what he had seen. His father, sceptical but unconcerned, opened the blinds only to find nothing there. The mysterious craft had vanished without a trace. This incident marked the beginning of a series of encounters that would define John's childhood and adolescence. Night after night, he experienced vivid interactions with extraterrestrial beings. Initially, these encounters were marked by fear and confusion. The aliens would simply stare at John, their intentions unclear, and their attempts at communication incomprehensible. As time passed, John slowly developed the ability to understand the beings' telepathic communications. It was as if his mind was gradually tuning into their frequency, bridging the gap between his consciousness and theirs. The appearance of these extraterrestrial visitors was unlike anything John had ever seen. They had slim faces and bright green skin with incredibly thin bodies featuring long arms and legs. Curiously, they wore no clothing and lacked any visible genitalia or sex characteristics. Their faces, while vaguely humanoid, were dominated by large eyes, and they appeared to have no visible ears. One of the most striking features of their beings was the texture of their skin. John described it as extremely soft, almost silk-like to the touch. Despite their organic appearance, they emitted a slight metallic odour, a scent that became inextricably linked to these nocturnal encounters in John's mind. The nature of these visitations often followed a similar pattern. John would find himself paralysed, unable to call for help or alert his parents. The beings would then transport him to what he assumed was their spacecraft. Here, they would place him on an examination table, studying him intently with their large eyes. Despite the invasive nature of these examinations, John never felt that the aliens intended to harm him. Their actions seemed driven by scientific curiosity rather than any form of malice. As John entered his early teens, a significant shift occurred in the nature of these encounters. At the age of 12, he made a conscious decision to overcome his fear and resistance. During one particular abduction, instead of struggling against the experience, John allowed himself to remain calm and open. This change in attitude seemed to alter the dynamic between him and his extraterrestrial visitors. For the first time, John found the courage to communicate directly with the beings. As he lay on the familiar examination table, he asked them what they were trying to do. The response he received was both surprising and profound. One of the aliens, communicating telepathically, revealed that their ultimate goal was to allow humans to live forever. This revelation was followed by an unexpected query from the alien. It asked John if he felt safe. The fact that these beings were concerned about his emotional state marked a turning point in their relationship. John, emboldened by this show of empathy, expressed that he did indeed feel safe. He then made a request that would change the nature of his experiences dramatically. He asked for a tour of their ship. What followed was a mind-bending journey through an environment that defied human understanding. John's memories of this tour remained fragmented, but certain details stand out with vivid clarity. He recalls seeing other humans undergoing examinations, and in one particularly striking instance, he witnessed what appeared to be a surgical procedure being performed on another abductee. The command centre of the craft left a particularly strong mark on John. It was a hub of advanced technology, with large monitors displaying strange alien text. But it was what lay beneath his feet that truly took his breath away. The floor of the command centre was transparent, offering an unobstructed view of Earth below. John found himself mesmerised by the sight. In the distance, he could make out a large, complex structure that he speculated might be the International Space Station. This marked the beginning of a new phase in John's encounters. Instead of being subjected to examinations, he was now given tours of the ship and introduced to more members of the alien crew. John met 3 additional entities and, over time, developed what he could only describe as a friendship with these beings. His ability to understand their telepathic communications improved, although he continued to respond verbally. As John's comfort with the aliens grew, so did the scope of his experiences. The beings began taking him on extraordinary journeys beyond Earth. One particularly memorable excursion brought John to a planet with vast maze-like fields of green. The exact location of this world remains a mystery to John, but he recalls the aliens pointing out Earth's sun, suggesting that they were still within the Milky Way galaxy. The alien world John visited was both familiar and strange. The environment was lush and green, reminiscent of Earth's most pristine landscapes. However, subtle differences hinted at its extraterrestrial nature. The sun that illuminated this world was dimmer than Earth's, casting a reddish glow reminiscent of a perpetual sunset, even with the sun positioned overhead. Strangely, John also never observed any insects or other animals during his visits. Thinking back on it, John wonders if this environment was a kind of Earth-like artificial construct, as it seemed highly unlikely to him that such life would have evolved to be so similar on an entirely different planet in the galaxy. This would also seem to explain the absence of any animal life. One of the most striking features of this alien world was its water. Unlike the typical blues and greens of Earth's oceans, the water here was a vibrant cyan or turquoise, reminiscent of the shallows of Lake Tahoe or a Fijian beach. The temperature was consistently pleasant, hovering around what John estimated to be the mid-70s Fahrenheit or around the mid-20s Celsius. It was during one of these otherworldly excursions that John received news that would bring this chapter of his life to a close. The aliens informed him that they would need to leave him alone for a while and that he would only see them one final time. This revelation filled John with a sense of loss and apprehension. True to their word, John's final encounter with the aliens occurred when he was 14 years old. This experience would prove to be the most intense and consequential of all his interactions with these beings. As he lay in bed one night, the familiar sensation of being transported overtook him. Once again, he found himself on the examination table aboard the alien craft. However, this time, one of his alien friends was there to greet him. The alien explained that they wanted to conduct one last test on John but warned him that if he agreed, they would never be able to see him again. This news devastated John, who had grown close to these beings over the years. The alien emphasised the importance of this test, stating that it could potentially change the future of their research. Despite his emotional turmoil, John agreed to participate. What followed was a scene straight out of a science fiction movie. John was led to a silver egg-shaped pod encircled by bright red lights. Inside the pod was a chair with sharp drill-like instruments that hung ominously from the ceiling. As fear began to creep in, he asked for his friend, and two of John's alien friends appeared to comfort him. One held his hand, while the other transmitted soothing thoughts telepathically. An unfamiliar alien then approached, holding what appeared to be a large medical syringe filled with a bright neon green fluid. John, understandably apprehensive, asked if the procedure would be painful. The aliens, in a show of honesty, confirmed that it would indeed hurt, but reminded him of the importance of his contribution to their research. Summoning his courage, John nodded his head. The needle pierced his left arm, injecting the mysterious green fluid. The pain was intense, bringing tears to John's eyes. But as quickly as it had begun, the pain subsided, replaced by a strange tingling sensation. It was then that the aliens revealed the true nature of their experiment. The serum they had injected into John was designed to greatly extend the human lifespan. They warned him to keep this information secret, cautioning that revealing it could put him in danger. With their experiment complete, John's alien friends bid him an emotional farewell. As he was transported back to his bed, the gravity of what had just occurred began to sink in. Upon waking, John immediately checked on his arm, finding 3 green welts. In a moment of panic, he pressed on one of the blisters, causing it to burst and release its green fluid onto the bed sheets. He quickly popped the remaining 2. Overwhelmed, John called for his father, who rushed him to the emergency room upon seeing the state of his arm. Fearing ridicule or disbelief, John chose not to disclose the true origin of his injuries. The attending physician, lacking any other explanation, treated the wounds as chemical burns, prescribing burn cream and topical antibiotics to prevent infection. To this day, John bears 3 faint circular scars on his left arm, a permanent reminder of his final encounter with the aliens. These marks serve as tangible personal evidence of his extraordinary experiences, a link between the mundane world of everyday life and the cosmic mysteries he was privileged to glimpse. In the years since his last encounter, John has often reflected on the meaning and purpose of his interactions with these beings. He wonders why they chose him for their experiments and what the long-term effects of the serum might be. While he misses the aliens and the incredible experiences they shared, he takes comfort in the belief that his participation may have contributed to advancements that could benefit all of humanity. As for the efficacy of the alien serum, only time would tell. At 31 years old, John reports being in excellent health. He rarely falls ill, and when he does, the symptoms are mild. His ability to heal from injuries also seems somewhat faster than what would be expected, and many people he has met have assumed he was in his early to mid-20s. Whether these traits are the result of the alien intervention, good genes, or simply a healthy lifestyle remains to be seen. As John jestfully puts it, "Get back to me in 50 years and we'll know for sure." John Pullman's admittedly fantastical account, a caveat he readily acknowledges himself, is nevertheless an extraordinary one. Even if only a fraction of his story holds truth, it certainly challenges us to broaden our understanding of what may exist beyond our earthly realm and consider the possibility that we are not alone in the universe. Whether one chooses to believe his testimony or not, the impact these encounters have had on John's life is undeniable, leaving us to ponder the endless mysteries that still await discovery in the cosmos.